Julian Sanders back with us again today for Tech Talk. That's what you said. They ended up calling this segment because it was easy to say, so Tech Talk. And we're talking today about storing your information. I think, many times we've been on the program before, we've emphasized, backing up your personal information or what you've got in your computer. But now we're actually talking about the ways to do that. And I'm surprised that there's such a big difference in terms of the savability factor.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that most of the methods that are the easiest and fastest are also some of the most temporary. So if you're worried about keeping your files for a long time to preserve your memories, it's good to keep some good common sense rules. And then you can have your memories forever.
All right. Well, let's first of all talk about this, because I was so glad you brought this along, because I don't think I've ever seen the inside of a hard drive. That's what this is. Yep. And I don't think very many people at home have either. So this is the hard drive that's in your computer. And is this on the high end or the low end or in the middle in terms of savability factors?
It's in the middle of durability for how long it lasts, and it's on the most popular for speed.
Okay.
This is the top's obviously been taken off, and the big silver plate is where all the information is.
Okay.
There's a little needle that skips across it just like a record. It flies really, really fast, and it reads all of the data. So it's a machine, and it has moving parts with gears that will eventually run out.
Okay, now moving parts and gears, and you say eventually run out. So then the hard drive in your computer that you got all this cool stuff on, how long can I reasonably expect this thing to mechanically function?
Well, it depends. It varies a little bit based on brand and how you store it. But usually if you don't power them, they'll last for several years if you just throw them in a drawer and keep them.
Right.
It's not like they die in a month or 3 months. You'll have them for a little bit.
Now, what about this little doohickey, because I do believe that's the technical term. This looks like something else you sort of dismantled for our convenience.
You got it. Yeah, that's a USB flash drive.
Right.
So that one is what a lot of people use to temporarily store their photos. We have a lot of customers come in with flash drives that are a year or two old, and they're now not readable. And it was the only place they kept their pictures. So in an ideal world, everything would work perfect every time, but unfortunately flash drives have no real permanency to them.
Now I look at something like that now. Is a flash drive the same as a memory stick?
Yep, same, different
So
name.
I got my memory stick here, and I think everything's locked in tight. There's no moving parts per se, so why does this break down?
It's kind of like how magnetic tapes with VHS. It's kind of the same idea. They're just held on in the chip with basically with magnetic energy. It's a little bit more complicated than that. But that's the basic.
No, for a guy like me, that works fine. It's magnetic energy. Good. Okay.
I've put stuff on flash drives personally, and they've lasted for 5 years. So in my experience, they're good for a short time, but I wouldn't trust it to be there 10 years from now.
Okay.
The only way to get that kind of permanency is to use a disc. So everybody knows blank CDs and DVDs. There's different, I should say, flavors with how much stuff you can hold and what kind of a coating is applied to the disc. So if you correctly store your discs, like this one here is in a plastic jewel case, there's air going on the front and the back, they'll last for several decades. So if you use the other ones to temporarily store your files and build up a fair quantity, and then you burn off discs once or twice a year, you're covered for a long time. So you can give your kids your photos of their childhood when they get married, right?
Okay.
A lot of people too are using paper sleeves. They'll buy a big stack and they'll throw them in plastic sleeves and throw them in a drawer. But these can actually get stuck. The inks that are in the envelope will stick to the data side of the disk. So this way is fine for kind of tossing it at your coworker or carrying it around for a bit, but it's not really good for keeping it forever. And there's also thin little cases, which are also good. So the thin or the thick cases, either one of these are quite good to keep it for decades.
Okay, great. Well, that's some great ideas and great information on making sure that you don't lose the information, because I would have thought that both of these, the hard drive and the memory stick, is like, that's good to go, just you're good now, but obviously you got to keep backing it up.
You got it, yeah.
All right, thanks a lot, Julian.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right, you bet. And now it's time for your entertainment news.